What about water? Obviously in the Permian Basin, water is a big deal. We've talked about marketing. What are some of the, you know, issues or cautionary advice for how to deal with your water systems and your water contracts and your deals there? Is there anything that are good takeaways for an in-house landman who's maybe involved in this type of deal, whether on a large scale or maybe on a small scale? Let's maybe look at it from a small scale acreage trade standpoint, or a carve out of an asset. Is there anything there
Yeah.
that should be
I think there you just be, and I think Austin hit on this earlier, right? About, making sure that if you're going to do a trade and those two positions are dedicated to different companies, that, you have a release and rededication that's sort of agreed to at the time of the swap, so that you're not picking up uh, a, a dedication to another company that, you don't intend to send water to. And in kind of in that same vein, if you, let's say you're not swapping, but you're just buying, hey, we're going to sell you this little, we've got 100 acres over here that we're not going to develop. We'll sell it to you for like $2 million. You buy it, and that acreage was actually dedicated by the seller as part of a larger AMI, without, carefully making sure that you're just assuming the dedication as to that acreage. You have the potential to accidentally step into a much broader
dedication
dedication that you
requirement?
never
Well,
intended to. And so that's a big pitfall that, folks can get in a lot of trouble with really quick.
yeah, we see that quite often. We get brought in as landmen to do leasehold verifications on acreage trades, right? I'm swapping a quarter for a quarter, on another section. And if we can do the title, right, and determine the working interest and override burdens and all those things in our eyes, but the ticket is the contracts, right? We always encourage our clients to give us access to the contracts that pertain. What are
Yeah.
we dealing with here? Because that can factor into the whole picture, right? If this is
Okay.
this an apples to apples trade? Is this fair value for fair value?
Yeah.
So those are all things
On a,
that we focus
yeah,
on as well.
I was also going to say on a smaller scale, on the water side in particular, if there are landowners you have to acquire your on lease water, from me, or if you don't, you have to pay, a 20-cent throughput fee for any water transported across my surface.
Yeah.
You see that, you see some of the Permian, definitely in the Eagle Ford, but that's, something that, while you may say, oh, this is kind of right next to our position, but you may be picking up a new landowner you didn't know about.
Or a new partner,
Yeah.
where these aren't just landowners, these are partners, these
Yeah.
are development
Yeah.
partners. They're
Yeah.
very sophisticated.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, one thing that kind of on the water side that we've seen recently is like a lot of the time, if you have a standalone water disposal system, oftentimes it's housed in a separate entity. And for, hopefully, like John said earlier, like do you have standalone rights of way? Do you have the surface fee interest that you need at the disposal side to inject that water? If you have those SWDs, or if you have especially if you have a system that moves the water around, even if that's lay flats or whatever. One place where we've seen it cause some confusion was when you're selling an entity alongside a set of assets, and that entity sale often has a different set of purchase price adjustments, and it's really trying, like, especially if it's an affiliate owned water company, how does the fees, that are charged by that affiliate, they may have some third party shippers on it or third party users. Like, how do those fees relate to the other assets being sold, and how do you separate that out? I mean, that we had a deal that caused some confusion on that, and it's just something to get up. It's really, there's an answer to it, but it's something that the parties need to kind of think about how they want to handle in the documents, how they want to handle in the valuation, and just coordinate that, as part of the discussions early, so that you can kind of avoid some of that.
exactly. On the waterfront, I mean, we've had a couple of podcasts on water and constituent minerals and all the things, lithium and through brine and things like that. Are you guys starting to see scenarios where you're addressing that, ownership of constituent minerals and things like that through water? Say if there is a water disposal component to it. What are you advising your clients? How are you guys addressing that, or has it become a thing yet?
Yeah. John, we were talking about this just the other day, right?
Yeah. So, there's, as the technology's improved to be able to, some people call it polish the water, right? Make sure you extract all the skim oil, extract all the lithium. Water midstream companies, may have are starting more and more to put sort of directed delivery requirements into their contracts, which is to say that, look, you can utilize your standard, separator equipment at the tank battery, but after that, like, the water needs to come to us. You
It's
can't,
ours.
do any of this. You can't do this extra polishing, any of that. Or if you want to, the rate that we've, proposed to you in the term sheet is going to increase by 20%, right? And so it's a dollars game at that point. University lands, this is on their website, with their contract for area developments, they have language in there that, hey, UL retains the right to essentially polish the water, or contract with a third party to polish the water before you send it to a third party disposal.
Yeah. Well, I think we're certainly going to continue to see the value of that water rise. I mean, originally the value, I'm thinking, over the last 6-8 years was just, I need water, and you can recycle that water. And parts of Texas are the aquifers are depleting and things like that. So water was valuable. Now it's exponentially more. And I don't think anybody really understands how much more valuable it's going to be. But the takeaways is to always try to account for that in your transactions. Make sure if you do think there's value there, try to account for it. It just adds another wrinkle, right? Another complication.
Yep.
People ask us all the time, well, tell me about how you do due diligence. I said, tell me about your project. Tell me about the trade.
Yeah.
Tell me about, the assets and where it is. And every project is a new formula. I think you have to take your circumstances and be open-minded to how you go about it. And God, y'all's guidance today and your stories that you could tell, or just reinforce that for sure.